Hey, you are listening to The Growth Signal. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
And I'm Dr. Joseph Drolshagen.
and we are going to get right into it. Dr. Joseph, what is your hot take?
My hot take is you cannot get to the level of success you want to get to following somebody else's path, following somebody else's model.
I'm really, really excited to talk about this conversation in particular because I feel like every day I open my social media, be it TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever, and I see some guru proclaiming that they have the magic blueprint, the thing that if you just follow my proven system, you will make a bajillion dollars a day guaranteed. And it feels, well, first of all, it's frustrating because I would like to make that kind of money. But two, it feels unreal. So you're telling me that my guess is right. It is hype and not reality.
It's somewhat it is, yes. So here's what the difference is so many programs have a model, a locked model. And if you go into that program, you have to adjust who you are and the actions you take and everything else to that model they're saying. And if somebody else comes in from another area, they have to do the same. And so you have to continue to adapt the people coming into it to the model as it is. A, B, and C, A, B, and C to get to D type of stuff, right? The SMT method with what I do, I've set it up in a way where what we're actually doing, Alyssa, is we are helping people identify what their unique pathway is based on their uniqueness. So I have a ABC, I have a model that we go through, but in the whole thing, what we're doing is developing that plan for that person, which brings greater results in less time.
Yeah. Totally nothing wrong with having like an underlying framework, right? The problem comes in when you call that framework universal, not realizing or anticipating that I'm a different human being than you and then we are to our listeners. So the way that it works for you and me might not work for the next person down the street.
And it won't. It won't. What works for you will not work for me. What works for me won't for you. We're unique individuals. So, and we have your roadmap to success. They don't even know our name, but they have our roadmap to success. What that doesn't take into account is that uniqueness, which determines.
And I think too, especially some people have a hard time, I think, leaning into their uniqueness because sometimes it can be scary to be different than the rest of the world out there. So take us through that. How do you help someone figure out what their uniqueness is and how that translates to their growth plan?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, because what happens to us is we're taught to be robots. In school, we're going through a math problem, and if I show all the work and get the right answer, I get all full credit. If you have a shortcut, but you still get to that right answer, you get marked down. So our life is setting us up to be robots. We do A, B, and C to get to D. So it's easy to pick up on that and expect that mentality to bring us where we want to get to, but it won't. And so what I do is, coming out of the gate with every client I work with, business owner I work with, is we develop what the SMT method refers to as a dynamic vision. And so what it is we're getting a lot of clarity on what that business is. How does it operate from your uniqueness? How big does that business grow? And not just what it looks like, but the feeling tone of living that life. Because here's what is you somewhat unique about the SMT method is you have to become that business owner achieving the success you want internally. And as you do, it automatically has to show up externally.
How does that translate? So when you've defined your unique approach, you have clarity on your operations, you understand your business, you know who you are and what makes you no longer a robot. How do you use that information to translate into actual growth, to attracting the right customers or making sure that you are putting your message into the universe and getting the right people back?
So what we do, and every client, I mean, I've worked with hundreds of clients over the past decade, and every one of them, they have their own marketing. They don't have a cookie cutter type of marketing that they do. They have their own way of doing things. So what we do, once we have that vision and we open that up, then what we do is use that vision as what we call the reality of our life. So we no longer get, up and down based on our situations and circumstances. We're following that vision, and the things that happen in our situations are just what it looks like as the vision is unfolding. So as we start progressing into that, now we start developing systems of accelerating habits that, again, are unique to that individual. Out of hundreds of clients, I don't have two clients that are following the same systems of accelerating habits, because they're unique to each client that I work with. And so we start developing, and what they are is the things that start lighting them up in the activities that they enjoy doing, that give them a lot, and as we get that joy into stuff, we obviously lean into it greater than the things we can't stand doing. And so cookie cutter programs will say, okay, you do the A, B, and C, and people can't stand doing B, but they all try to do it. And it just pulls them further away from where they want to get to. And they start losing some of that internal passion and drive towards achieving the success they want.
I would love to actually dig into, almost your unique story because it seems to
Mhm.
me that you could make plenty of money and a highly scalable program if you went the cookie cutter route. Why did you choose to do something that feels unique, which means to not be cookie cutter, to not have something that is truly like a one-to-one scalable? Because understanding a human being and creating a customized approach for them, yes, you might have a framework, but that is still a ton of work. So why be unique? Why not go cookie cutter?
Because I come from very humble beginnings, and those humble beginnings of lack and limitation and stuff went with me into my adulthood, even though I didn't want them to. And I didn't know how to change those things. So I looked at a lot of different avenues. I've done a lot of different coaching programs, and I would do those cookie cutter programs, and I'd get done and go, man, there must be something the matter with me because I didn't get those results. And I would always come back to being, more me, more me. So once I kind of broke through understanding the subconscious programming, how important it is, and then how to bring this about in my own life, I had to go about it in a unique way. And as I did so, man, did things change rapidly and doors start opening up. And so it was really, really critically important for me that if I help anybody, it's gotta be through their uniqueness, not for the steps that help me.
Yeah. I think that that's really important. And unfortunately, I do think that that is a unique differentiator for you because I've got, as I tell people, I got by a lot of those coaching programs. And then I get into it and I'm like, oh, this is just something like a collection of YouTube videos that you pulled together and maybe re-recorded or, some SEO guide that I read, 2 years ago or whatever. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who are trying to do the make money while you sleep, which no shame in that. We all want to do what we can,
Mhm.
but are missing that fundamental piece that if someone fails your program, it's not them, it's you.
Absolutely, and I didn't know that back when I was taking those programs, I thought it was me. And so one of the things, Alyssa, is I don't do groups. Because when I first started doing this, I would do one-on-ones, but then I would do groups, and I noticed the people in the group never got as great of results as the people one-on-one. The other thing I do is I only work with so many clients at a time, so I'm available to I partner with my clients. I'm available 7 days a week if they need something. Now, if I'm on the phone or busy or something like that, I don't pull
Right.
my motorcycle over or something or stop hang gliding because I wanna help a client, because a client's calling, but I'll call them back and they have somebody with them along that pathway. It's not just a one call a week, type of a thing. And every client I work with that achieves the success that they achieve, and I can tell you over and over the stories, they reach out and they use that
Yeah.
at
I think
certain
it's
times.
really important to double click or point out the fact that you are essentially limiting your growth in order to deliver on the promise that you've made to your existing customers.
Yeah, my passion is truly helping others. The business owners that are working, exhaustively massive hours and everything. I've done that. I've missed my only son's first birthday because I was out trying to build a sales territory, and I remember that pain today, like when it happened. And so my part of my goal is that nobody has to. You don't have to live like that in order to build a business. You don't have to sacrifice your family or the important things and stuff. We're just programmed to think that we do.
What do you think for people who listen to this show, they're typically in some kind of customer transactional role, right? They are in marketing where they're trying to bring in leads, they're in sales where they're trying to close deals, they're in customer success where they're trying to keep people coming back
Yeah.
for more. What do you think is their biggest blind spot when it comes to building a unique relationship with their customer?
The understanding that 85, and there's reports going all the way up to 95% of the results we experience are determined by the programming in the subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind is what triggers brain waves to the actions we take or don't take. So if you have somebody who's in that limited lack mode, let's use finances because it's, around the world and the importance. But you have somebody that's in that lack mode for finances, based on their programming of lack limitation, will not allow them to take the actions that will lead to a breakthrough or that other side where they really want to get to. So what it is our conscious mind knows what we want. The subconscious is what triggers the brain waves to the actions we take or don't take. So there's a disconnect between what we want and what we're actually doing. And so what the SMT method does is it locks in that alignment to those. And it also locks it in with the vision. So what you're thinking, what you're doing is all in alignment with what you want to achieve.
Take us through the SMT method. If that's an acronym, tell us what it stands for.
Yes,
And
it's
then also share with us how do you use that? How does that change someone's life?
so the SMT method, the SMT stands for subconscious mindset training. And it's all about identifying the programming that's causing limitation or causing exhaustive working or causing those things. And then I have there's tools within the SMT method through the different modules and through the different things that helps to shift that programming very rapidly. And as soon as we shift that programming, we start shifting our perceptions. So ultimately, our perceptions of how we see things is what is determining our results. And so that's why business owners that I talk to that say, well, you can't grow in this economy or you can't grow with the state of the economy like it is. But we know companies who have taken their greatest strides in a down economy. And we know so many that struggled during boom times. So it's not about that. It's about our perception. So when we identify the programming and we shift that, we shift our perceptions, which means that we shift the results we experience.
One of the things that you said that just triggered one of my very first podcast guests, like maybe in the first 5, said something about one of the biggest mistakes that sellers make is they forget to offer the customer the chance to buy. And they make the assumption that, well, I couldn't afford this solution, so therefore my customer probably can't. So I'm not even going to insult them by asking. But in reality, you are not your customer. You do not have the same circumstances that they do. And you're doing them a disservice by not even giving them the chance to solve their problem.
And that's programming right there causing limitation. That's such a perfect example, Alyssa, is of programming causing limitations. Yeah, and so identifying that, and there's a lot of clients I work with that as we start growing and scaling, and so at some point they get really fearful, like I don't think I want to grow anymore. Why not? Well, I don't know. It's just getting scary. I don't know what's going to happen. And things that have never happened all of a sudden will start popping up in fear. That's all programming stuff.
And this, whatever your limiting belief is, whether it's a financial limiting belief or the energy or the ability to deliver on something, those are things that we have perceived of our own, self, and then we let them get in the way, even if they're not really true. So, what are some of the common limiting beliefs that people, especially in growth minded roles, have? And how are there any like hacks, tricks, or secrets to start to shed those that we should consider?
Well, yeah, before I say that, I have to say that our subconscious programming is based on our patterns, our paradigms, our experiences, even experiences you and I made, we didn't have ourselves, but somebody told us about that. Gets netted in that network or that motherboard of the subconscious. And so what happens is we go through life and we don't even realize that we're doing it because so many of us like live unconsciously to our awareness that it's the programming playing out and not not who I want to be. And so in that process, finances is a big one. Success is a big one for a lot of people. One of the things I really have to I find over and over and over with clients have to work on is when I start working with somebody, I have to get them to throttle back a little bit. And I do that through the developing the vision, the dynamic vision. But so many of us have that programming that I got to go, go, go. I got to go day, nights, weekends, go, go, go until I get there. And then I can write the promise and then I can enjoy life. But most people following that never get to that enjoyment place.
Do you ever feel like so someone is hearing this, they're gonna go down this road, they're hearing this saying, "Okay, I'm letting my subconscious, drive forward my success."
Yes.
Is there anything that's like a red flag for you if someone comes to you and they say that they're ready to do it, but you're like, "I don't think you really are."
Yes. Great question too, Alyssa, is in order for me to work with anybody, they have to have an open mind. So many people, I'll talk about clients who have gone from 7.5 to over $22 million in 12 months and took 5 weeks of vacation during that year of growth, or from 300,000 to 3 million, or over and over and over with the sort. And they'll go, that's not realistic. That person, there's nothing I can do for that person.
That makes sense too, because if you are immediately shutting down the possibility of that for yourself. You've just red flagged your self-limiting belief on conversation 1.
And it's hard for me because I wanna help everybody, like, I wanna help as
Yeah.
many people as I can. I'm certifying other coaches right now in the SMT method just to expand the footprint and the impact of its, on across the world, but yeah, that's hard for me to do that, but I've tried to force it with people like that, and they just don't it just not a good alignment for them.
Yeah, it's unsatisfying for them and it's unsatisfying for you, right? All of that time and energy, and anyone who's listening to this podcast can hear the energy and passion and excitement in your
Yeah.
voice, and I can't imagine how draining it must be to not get that reciprocal feeling on the other side of the people that you're working with.
Yeah, and it's not even that so much as you hear the person from, they'll cry when they're on the phone with how much they're struggling and everything else, and then you talk about, what's possible, and you help them take that vision and expand it some and such, and they're going, "No way, no way," and they're just totally locked down to it. It took me a long time to learn what I do isn't necessarily for people who need it, it's for people who want it.
I think that's a huge distinction, right? There's a lot of people who need things, but research shows in like anything that we try to do
Mhm.
that you are much more likely to do things and be successful at it if you want to do it, whether you need it or not.
And that's one of the things I have to correct a lot of my clients on, early on and things like that is they'll say, "Oh, I need to do that. I need to go to the gym more, or I need to eat healthier, or I have to this, or I have to that." And I'll say, "Well, hold on, hold on. Do you want to?" Because we live so much of our life by need to and have to and everything else. When we want to do something, man, it takes on a whole different meaning behind it and how we go through it and things like that. And that's the same thing with business is we start turning on that attractive mechanism to us where we start attracting people, clients and business and stuff to us rather than trying to force it.
Yeah. I think too, as we, think about our own businesses and when we're working with, I want you to take the leader perspective. So if you're talking to a business and they had employees, you're talking to the leader. How would you coach the leader on kind of getting that same fire in their employees when it's not necessarily something that they're building for themselves? It's someone else's dream, someone else's outcome. How do you pass that enthusiasm and lack of
And yeah,
limiting belief
great
on?
question. It's a great question. So here's one of the things I do because I've done this where I've worked with the business owner and then I'll work with their team. And what I do is the business owner and I, we develop a dynamic vision. And the vision includes every aspect of life, personal, business, all of it, our health and well being, relationships, the whole thing. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the team and we'll take the core of the business side of it and I'll bring that to the team and I'll let them help to fully develop that vision for the business itself. But in that, each one of them are developing the whole entire vision, but the business aspect of it is becomes common across the entire team. So now they've had buy-in into it. They see how the business doing that now can ignite their life. It can open up more freedom, more money, more, things like that and stuff. And so it becomes even though they're individual visions, what is placed out and for everybody to see and stuff like that is that common business vision. And then how it impacts each person's life is their own personal thing, part of it.
And I think too many businesses skip that particular part that you're
They
talking
do.
about because it's a lot easier for me to say, I'm the boss. This is my company. You'll do it my way. I pay you money to do it. And then you can, hit the road when I'm done with you and
Yes.
move on. But I think the best businesses have their grand vision, like you said. But we as people just want to feel meaning and connected and like we're doing something that matters. Paychecks are great. Don't get me wrong. Being paid well is wonderful, but we as a species want more than just our base needs
We
covered. We
do.
want fulfillment.
Yeah. And I think COVID opened that up a lot.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree.
Yes. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. That's so having that and like I've gone into business owners and just sales who I've worked with the, VP of sales, director of sales, whoever, and then worked with a certain number of their sales personnel, and I'll do the same thing. I'll work with the VP on their vision for their sales team and how it ties into the corporation and all of that stuff. And then I'll take the individuals and I'll take that portion of the business portion of it and I'll help them develop their own dynamic visions, which is all inclusive of every area of their life. and that'll have that common thread. And all of a sudden you start seeing people elevate. You start seeing like, I've had under my management as a VP of sales, I've in multiple organizations, I've developed the highest level of top producers on sales teams that the organizations had ever achieved. And it's using these tools.
Yeah. You know, considering all the people that you know or that you aspire to know, who else is out there? Who else should we be paying attention to?
Oh God, there's so many people. Cassie Shea is somebody I would say. CASSIESHAE. Um, man, I mean, I still follow, not Deepak, John Assaraf. I'm somewhat related to what he does. There's differences, but like he brings a really strong message. I mean, there's just so many right now, but that would be a couple I would say, other than like, the Bob Segers of the world and stuff like that.
That everybody's already paying attention to.
Yeah.
Tell me, if someone is really connecting with you, they're hearing your message, they're feeling the call to do something differently, to work on their subconscious mindset, how can they find you online?
Anybody can pull up my name, which is kind of a long name. But what I did is I put together a link to a 15-minute introductory call. No sales, no this, no that, just really introductory. If somebody's listening to this and they got a question or they think it's BS or whatever it is, they can go to coachwithjoey.com and they can schedule a 15-minute call with me. And it's mainly just an introduction and trying to help people.
And I understand that you have recently released a book. Please tell us about that book and where can we get it?
Yeah, it's reprogramming the subconscious mind, the SMT method to rapid growth. And anybody can go to Amazon, again, pull up my name, or pull up the name of the book, Reprogramming the Subconscious Mind, and they'll see it. And the really cool thing about the way I did this, which I think explains like how how much I want to help people, is I have a bonus thing on there where each chapter, chapters 1 through 8, has a link you can go to. And I actually put some exercises in. So now you read about the tool. Now you can go and do some exercises and practice seeing some change happen for you.
That's cool. I love that too, because I think sometimes people need to see it to believe it, and giving them those quick little opportunities as they kind of reimagine their future, I think is really important.
Yes, absolutely. When we experience things that can bring about change.
Unreal. Unreal. And so important. Thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. I'm fully inspired. I've got a whole page of notes. I'm looking forward to continuing to follow your journey. And thank you for coming on the Growth Signal.
Oh, this is an honor, Alyssa. Thank you very much.